With all the crazy GPU pricing that's going on, specifically with an RTX 3080 costing basically where a 3080 Ti is supposed to be, RTX cards are kind of out of the reach of the everyday consumer, as are the RX 6000 series. So I kind of wanted to make a video discussing the different graphics cards that I guess I would recommend to keep an eye out for. They're not necessarily the most powerful, but I think they might be a good value right now, specifically because everything is so goddamn expensive. Now keep in mind, all of the prices are going to be way higher than usual. Just a given. Literally everything is more expensive at the moment. Kind of sucks, but that's just kind of the way it is. So I'm taking the prices off of secondhand sites for this one, so let's get right into this. Alright, so the first graphics card that I'm going to recommend is checking out the RX 480, which is a $250 graphics card, which is kind of hardly budget, but either way, it is a 1080p monster with 2304 stream processors clocked at 1266 MHz, and it delivers roughly PS4 Pro levels of performance. Now, it's perfect for 1080p gaming, and the age means that miners actually aren't targeting it quite as frequently, which is kind of funny because if you remember back to the last cryptocurrency boom, the RX 480, everyone was all over that because it was such a good miner. Now compared to stuff like the 3070 and the 3080, it's really not that great anymore. The one thing I will say though is that the 4GB flavors can definitely be found for less than the 8GB flavors. Now, you might want 8 gigs of VRAM if you're doing something like video editing, but 4 gigs is plenty for 1080p. And another plus is that it will support the upcoming AMD FSR, which I'm personally excited for. It's AMD's competitor to DLSS. We're just going to have to see how it goes, but either way, you will be ready for it. Our next card is the GTX 970, which can be found for $230 about on eBay, and it's a better deal, but it's older and less powerful than the RX 480. I actually have an entire review on the GTX 970, and the price has gone down significantly since I posted that review, so if you're interested in it, I would go check that out. It was actually a pretty decent budget graphics card, and I would personally recommend checking it out, but it's got 1664 CUDA cores clocked at 1178 MHz. With overclocking, you can easily get that to above 1200 MHz, but it is once again less powerful than the RX 480, mostly because of the weird memory configuration. For those of you who don't know, the GTX 970 actually features technically a 3.5 GB VRAM buffer, where the last 512 megs are technically on a narrower bus. NVIDIA decided to do that for product segmentation. Either way, what it essentially means is you get 3.5 gigs of fast GDDR5, and then the rest is just kind of basic memory. The age once again means that miners are technically avoiding this card, and it will definitely hold you over until GPU prices normalize in, I'm hoping, the next few months. Now the next graphics card that I'm going to be discussing is the RX 570, which is a $250 graphics card, which is hardly budget for a 4GB card, but once again, like the RX 480, it's great for 1080p gaming, and it's actually performs similarly to the RX 480, but it has technically slower GDDR5. Now, the one upside to this card is that there are tons of flavors available, not only on the first-hand market, but also on the second-hand market, and it is incredibly popular just because it was produced so heavily because of GPU mining back in the day. Back in 2017, 2018, this card was nuts because it was so power efficient. Nowadays, it's kind of not, but either way, it's definitely a great card. It's got tons of flavors available, and it's definitely easy to find on eBay. Now the card is older and less efficient, which means once again that miners are not targeting it, which is definitely a good thing. Moving on to our next graphics card, I've got the GTX 780 Ti down, just because it can be found for $200, and that's quite an easy $200 to find. Now, it's got 2304 CUDA cores clocked at 902 MHz. Not exactly the fastest card, not exactly Pascal, which can clock to up and over 2 GHz with ease, but either way, it's got 3 gigs of GDDR5, which is decent for 1080p gaming, but definitely might become a little bit restrictive as time goes on, but you gotta keep in mind that it's cheap. It's cheap, 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 cheap. Now, overclocking on third-party models will definitely bring you up to an over 1 GHz, and you can also overclock the memory to help kind of alleviate that small buffer and just get more data in and out of it to try and increase bandwidth. And once again, because it's older, miners are technically ignoring it, so it's definitely still a decent graphics card for being released all those years ago. I'm trying to remember when it came out, but I can't remember off the top of my head. want to say 2013, so it's an 8-year-old graphics card now, but it still definitely has enough power to kick you in the balls. Now, the GTX 780 can be found for about $170, but it offers significantly less performance, but that is also an option. Now, the last graphics card that I'm going to be discussing is the RX 560, which can be found for $170. Now, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking, this card is not exactly great. That's what I would say as well, but you got to keep in mind that in a time like this, it's decent. It's definitely good enough for 1080p esports titles. It's got 1024 stream processors clocked at 1275 megahertz, which is roughly PS4 levels of performance, which once again is good enough for 1080p esports titles. Now, it's not exactly excellent, but at the same time, you got to keep in mind that in these times, desperate times call for desperate measures, so once again, the RX 560 is actually a decent choice for these times, but I would personally go for the GTX 780, just because it has faster GDDR5, and it also is slightly faster just because the core is physically larger. So that's really all I wanted to discuss in this video. This was kind of a short video. We're going on, only 7 minutes, so this is kind of a short video. I just kind of wanted to get these cards out there to try and get you guys more of more options, because I know right now that everyone's looking for like an RTX 3070 and all that, and that costs like $1,000, so it's a no-go for a lot of people. I just kind of wanted to get more budget cards out there and get some discussion going about different budget graphics cards, because I want to know what you guys have to think. I'm sure I missed a graphics card or two. I want to know what you guys know about and see where you guys are getting your cards from, because contrary to popular belief, I do not have a secret graphics card plug that I can go to and just buy cheap graphics cards and sell to you guys. Unfortunately, I honestly wish I could. I'd just give them out for free at that point. But at the same time, what do you guys know about? I just want to know where you guys are looking for your graphics cards, what you're looking for, because I'm kind of curious in that as well. But either way, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and click the bell icon so you'll be notified about all our future uploads. That's really all I had to say on the matter, so thank you for watching.